to the live session here for scaling your business. And I'll let everybody join in here for a minute, but um, feel free to make comments throughout this presentation. Happy to see any questions, and we'll get to as many questions as we possibly can. Just want to see, okay, we got people coming in. That's great. Um, yeah, so format of this, I'll do a presentation here for a little while and kind of give you my 2 cents about scaling your small business here in Canada, and give you some anecdotes as well about how we've been able to scale up a bit here and what our plans are for the future and how we're approaching that here at Avalon. But also some anecdotes as well on how some clients have done that as well. So we do have the advantage of seeing hundreds of clients successfully grow their businesses, and some obviously make some missteps as well, which happens. So some learnings there. So happy to share those with you all. Of course, no naming names, but maybe some lessons here to learn from those people. So yeah, I see some comments here. Great. Good to see you, Davey. Thanks, Nathan. Looking forward to this one. Absolutely. And also, we have launched a membership. It's a low-cost membership for the YouTube channel. We're just testing that out to see if it's useful for people, and we'll definitely prioritize anybody who's a member of our channel to have comments and questions prioritized there. But no, of course, no obligation to do that. But if you're looking for ways to support the channel, that is a great way to do it. So really appreciate that. All right, so I see some people here, and this is all recorded, so people can go back and see it. So I'll start my presentation here, and please continue with the comments and questions. We'll monitor them as closely as we can, and circle back when we need to as well. But I'll share my screen and show you what we're all about here. All right. Okay, so scaling your business. And this, I think, is important for a lot of people in Canada. Of course, like if you're at any sort of small size, you're probably resource strapped, and scaling your business is going to be really critical to get to the next stage. I think obviously money plays a big role in this whole thing. Why we want to scale our business to be more financially secure. But I would argue that an even bigger component of scaling your business is so that you don't have to do absolutely everything in your business anymore, that you can have the resources to um, to hand off some of the things that maybe you're not the best at, focus on the things that you really excel at. So that's kind of the purpose of scaling a business, I think. A couple components there, of course, but financial being one of the key ones, and then the other offshoots there. So content highlights for today. I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction. This is part of that. I'll introduce you to the 3 essential tips for scaling your business, so doing that successfully. I'll show you a little bit about the 7 DBS course that we're launching in the new year, and how you can get some discount with that in our pre-launch. And then we'll get into a Q&A as well. Of course, ask questions throughout. That enhances the whole conversation, but we'll have a dedicated Q&A towards the end. All right. So the 3 tips, I'll go through these in detail. I'll just give you the 10,000 foot view here. But number 1 is setting the right foundation. And the key here piece is not scaling too early before you've got a good foundation under your feet as a business. We see it a lot where companies try to scale a little too early. So we'll outline some of the key components of setting the right foundation for scaling your business and growing it up. Then scaling with intention. So not just randomly selected growth at all costs. We want to scale with intention, so that it doesn't become a beast of a business that we can't control any longer, and causes a lot of issues. We see that a lot as well, where it starts to take on a life of its own. And if we're not really intentional about scaling in the right way, things can get out of hand really quickly. And as we saw with WeWork, I think is going into bankruptcy. Big businesses like that can go under if they're not really scaling with the right kind of intention, and having the right foundation under their feet. And then the third tip is celebrating wins and milestones. So having milestones for the first place, so having things that you can look forward to as proper wins, and then celebrating those. I think we can, as business owners, get stuck into looking at the next thing, the next phase, and how we haven't hit the big goals yet. And if we are constantly looking at our business in that way, we're going to miss the forest for the trees. We're not going to enjoy that journey. And it is a journey. There is no real destination. It never ends. So some ideas on how to mark those occasions and keep you going and keeping you on the right track. All right. So let's get into the setting the right foundation. So in order to set the right foundation, I'm going to work in reverse here. Number one is the structure over there on the right. So understanding your obligations and legal structure. I think people sometimes skip this or don't put this in their business plan. There are table stakes to running any business, I think. Whether you are doing $50,000 a year or $5 million a year, there are certain obligations that every business needs to do, such as filing your taxes, uh, regulatory things like having business licenses and permits, workers' compensation if you have employees. All of those things can't be ignored, and they come at a cost. Whether you do it yourself or you hire somebody else to do these things, it's really critical that you outline all of those things that you need to do and don't skip over any steps. So this is really, I mean, this could be put into processes and things like that, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I wanted to separate this completely because there's just so many things, and they're known things. These are not, they shouldn't be big surprises to any business owner out there. There's a known number of things that you need to file and do every year in order to maintain being a business, and come to terms with that as early as you can. Set the right foundation so you're not growing your business, finding out that you are 5 years behind. Or here's a good example. We had a client that was 14 years behind on their corporate tax return filings. And that was not an easy job to do. We got it done in the end, but was not a pleasant experience for them or for us. And so don't fall behind if you can, or if you have fallen behind, get caught up as quickly as you can, because it's just so important if you're going to scale your business that you're not paying interest on old mistakes. So I'll leave it at that, but really critical. The next, and this is so important too, I think product market fit. Your product or service is serving a customer need at a profit. And this is something, again, we see a lot, is where you have an idea, and I get it. Business owners have an idea of what their customer wants, and often will ignore all of the signs that it's not the right product or service for their customers, and keep trying to push it, and it's not gaining any traction. What we need to do instead is develop something, the best thing we can think of in our head, get it out to customers, and then you get feedback on that. What are they actually looking for? Is there a component of that product or service that they love and other ones that they don't? Lean into those things. So get your product or service into the hands of your ideal customers, listen to feedback, and then deliver what they're actually looking for. Solve the actual problem that they have, not the one that you wish they had, which is a common thing. Another way to look at this is vitamins and painkillers. It's much easier to sell painkillers than it is to sell vitamins. As much as we like to, think of, people as wanting to do the best for themselves, often it's because of pain that they want relief, rather than, expected future pain and if I take this pill, I might avoid that pain. So think of it in those terms as well. And the other key component is add a profit, because we see, again, a lot of people reaching out, and they will have lots of sales, but they're not profitable. And each unit sale should come at a good profit, because you'll have overhead. There's other things that need to be done within your business, like things like the structure stuff, understanding your obligations that you need to cover. And so if you're not coming to terms with the product or service unit sales being profitable and at a very healthy profit, you're going to suffer and suffer those losses. So you might be making sales because your prices are too low. And that's a real problem. So really focus on that, I think, in the early days before scaling up, because volume will not fix that problem. That is a problem that needs to be fixed before scaling. You need to be able to deliver those services at profit or products. And lastly, processes and operating systems. So how you do things around here, I think this is missed. It can be at the strategic level. What are your values? How do you deliver your product or service? What is the flavor of your business that people identify with? But also the steps for all these things. How is this done in a repeatable way? Because if you can't do it in a repeatable way, if there's any, if you're offering a service that requires really high level thinking for each time that service is delivered, that can be a specific bespoke service and things, but very, very difficult to scale that kind of business, because you're relying on very, very skilled people to do that. And skill is very difficult to find, especially if you're looking at something very, very niche. So watch out for that. And then developing those processes so that it can be repeated, and having it in a system where people can follow it and know how it's done. Really important. At least I would say the first draft of these before scaling your business, because otherwise you can't scale yourself. If you're the only one that knows how to do these things and do them to a level that the customer is going to come back and buy more from you, then that's an issue. You need to get that down on paper so people can actually watch for that and do that the same way. Really, really key. All right. So that's setting the right foundation. If there's any questions about that, about the foundational piece, please put them in the comments there, and I can circle back on some of those as well. Tip number 2, is scaling with intention. So here we want to plan out what we're actually going to be doing, have some goals in mind, and that. So planning growth, you want to have an astronaut mentality. And I take this from Chris Hadfield's book, but what's the next thing that's going to kill me? So you start to prioritize these problems that you have in your business, and every business is going to have problems arising all the time. We call them issues. We have a dumping ground for those in our traction channel. So if you follow the channel at all, we love traction. We follow traction. It's actually right behind me here, the book. It's setting up a business operating system. And a piece of that is at least identifying your issues, the things that are popping up that are causing friction within your business. And the way I prioritize these is, what's the next thing that's going to kill me? So what do we need to fix right now it's going to cause the biggest uplift, i.e., we're not going to die. So really critical for that. But planning that growth out is crucial. So something like that, something like traction, and building that into your business is going to be really helpful. Managing resources. I think growing your business, and people underestimate this. I think they can do it by willpower and just pushing through. And some business owners can do that. I don't recommend it. But growth is expensive in time and or money, often both. So you may need to seek out funding. So if you've got a really solid product market fit, that if you sell 100,000 of your products, that each one of those is going to be profitable. Now you need to figure out, okay, how do I get a marketing campaign going to get this in the hands of more customers? And that's going to cost you either time or money, probably both. Excuse me. Um, and so seek out funding. Don't just do this, off the back of a napkin. Get some numbers in place, get some funding in place, um, and you'll have a much better chance at getting funding if you can show that this is a profitable endeavor that you're looking at, and that you've shown a couple years of at this scale, this is what it looks like, and here's what it could look like if we grow to the next stage. Super helpful to do that to find funding. Build and manage your team. So hiring for growth and building a great culture, super important. You know, it goes back to, we talked about how you do things around here, treating people the right way, um, building your flavor of business, and how people can grow within their own careers as well. So we have a lot of stakeholders. Every business has a lot of stakeholders. One is the customer. You could have shareholders and they'll have what they need. But a key one, and we almost think of this as almost a separate business unto itself, where we want to attract and retain the best talent that we possibly can, especially for a service-based business like ours here at Avalon. It's really important to attract people that are very talented, and then retain them so they can build more and more knowledge on how we do our processes and all of that. So really key to show appreciation. I mean, we have a lot of this could be a whole other YouTube Live, and I'm happy to do this one in the future. Some of the things that we do at Avalon just to show appreciation and keep people engaged within our team. But happy to do that later. But the key piece to take away here is that don't ignore this. This is a key component of any growth strategy. Is you don't want, you're starting to grow and a key personnel leaves right in the middle of that, cause huge headaches and problems. And if you've read the E-Myth, this is one of the key things that businesses fail on, is they'll hire somebody and abdicate a ton of responsibility to one person, and all the while that person is approaching burnout, and they leave in the middle of a growth phase, and it's catastrophic. So watch for that. Be mindful of building and managing your team, and what the responsibilities are, and be intentional about that. There's lots more that can go into this. These were three key areas I wanted to cover in this one, but really, really key to scale with some intention. Don't do it by happenstance. All right. Next up. Oops. Pardon me. Next up is keeping going. So now that you have this sort of plan in place, you're scaling your business, how do you keep going with it? And that's the third key component, is to set milestones. Don't just set a destination, because it'll either feel really far away, or when you achieve it, it's going to feel maybe meaningless at that point. You want to celebrate along the way, and that's how you keep going. So setting milestones should be markers between where you are and where you intend to go. So identify those, if that's, a certain revenue volume or number of people that are within your business, like client number or products sold, or team members, mark those occasions, celebrate them. So make sure it's not just about the destination. The journey should be celebrating along the way, and you earn it bit by bit. We do see this again, and we had this sort of issue in Avalon, as you kind of blow through these things. But by the time you reach them, if you're not really setting the intention to celebrate that, you're going to blow by it and be focused on the next thing, and it'll feel like you're getting nowhere. So absolutely key. So a little bit of the history of Avalon as well. I'll go into that. We started with two clients, and built it to over 200 clients nowadays. And part of that, I think, was getting traction throughout. I remember thinking, the original idea was that, having bookkeeping and accounting under one roof is going to help small business owners, because I always saw this back and forth between bookkeepers and accountants, and they'd be finger pointing at each other, and the business owner is caught in the middle. So if I could roll that up into one thing, that would be really beneficial for small business owners and a key way to differentiate myself in the market. And that got a lot of traction in the early days. So we got clients at one-on-one. I would go to events, talk to people, and they would become clients, and scaled it up to a certain size. But it was just me, and that was very difficult. So hired a bookkeeper, and did it that way. But then I had lots of people reaching out and being like, well, I love my bookkeeper. I don't want to give up my bookkeeper. And these were good people. So we had to adapt our services. There was a lot of people like that love their bookkeeper and wanted to keep them. So we built that into our service offering, where we just do the accounting. We tried just doing the bookkeeping as well. A lot of people wanted a good bookkeeper but loved their accountant. We found that just didn't work. Again, it was trialing these things out and then realizing that some things just don't work for our workflow, and having to reject some business. So I would suggest, when you're setting your product market fit, don't think about just the things that your customers want, but think about the things that you can deliver in a repeatable fashion at a high quality. And you're probably more defined by the things that you say no to than the things that you say yes to. And if I was to go back, I'd probably limit the number of things I said yes to, and up the level of things that I said no to, especially in the early days. We can often take on more than we can handle in the early days, but I would suggest starting as small as you possibly can to be profitable and set a good foundation. And then expand from there, add complexity as you go, start as simple as possible. I think our tendency is to get too complex too early, and try to deliver it that way. Great. So I wanted to just briefly talk to you about the 7-day business starter course, before we get into any questions here. Um, let's see here. So new course is coming out very soon. I'll put a QR code on here just in case you're interested. Let me see if you can. There's a QR code. So you get a discount code. We're going to launch it. There's sort of a pre-launch discount, and we're seeking feedback on it. We're through this, but it's a way to start your business and get to your first sale in 7 days. So there's a lot of steps in this, but you could actually do this in 7 days. We're trying to make it so that the tasks and everything are really clear, from day 1 to day 7. We talk about marketing. We talk about setting up financial systems. And we'll also have a community for other people that are doing the course. So you'll have some help there, and one-on-one support exclusively for early adopters. We're hoping that we sell lots of these in the future. We think it's going to be a super helpful course for people starting their business. But we want a lot of feedback as early as possible so that we can make the course as good as possible. So if you get into the early ones, we'll be here answering questions and making the course better based on your feedback. So I really appreciate that. So our pre-launch will be in January, and look forward to that. Is Lori's here too? Lori, you can tell me if I am supposed to read something specific here. Cool. All right. And just give me a comment if you want me to post that QR code again. We'll have it in other places as well, and definitely post it to all of our socials and things, so you can keep an eye out for that. All right. Next up is Q&A. So I'll stop the sharing, and give it exclusively over to you guys for any questions that you have. I see Eric's made a few comments here. Oh, nice work, Eric. 8 8 spa locations, but unhappy with your current accountant. Yeah, definitely hear that. We hear that a lot. I mean, obviously, people only come to us when they're not happy with their accountant, but um, you never get your financials on time during the month. And this is a common thing. So I think you can take a look at our hiring. This is mainly bookkeeping, I would say, rather than accounting. So if you can get a good bookkeeper, they can get those monthly reports out to you. So our process tends to be very strict, where we have a process we go through every month. And I know it takes a little more time than people would like, but there is a reason for that. So we do a first sweep of bookkeeping, and we try to reconcile everything that we can in the first week. With the bookkeepers do, they'll send out questions, get those questions answered. There always seems to be questions, as much as we try to remember and know, but we need receipts or missing receipts or other things. So there's a bit of a back and forth, and then those reports come out by the last day of the following month. So sort of a 30-day turnaround, I think, is pretty standard. You can speed that up, but that often increase in cost, because we need to prioritize those kinds of books. And then it also takes more from the business owner side. So they have to be very responsive. So this isn't just a one-way street where we just send out financials to business owners. We have to get the responses back, and the faster we get those, the more quickly we can get out those financial statements. But we do have a strict process for that. So I would recommend, if you are looking for a bookkeeper, Eric, if you set those service standards early, so that you know when they're falling off. So if you say, if I answer my questions by the 15th of the month, can I have financial statements by the 30th of the month? And if they say yes, get that in writing, and then stick to it. So, hey, it's the first of the next month. I haven't received my financials yet. You guys are not holding up your end of the bargain, and you'll be able to judge them on that. And whether you keep them or terminate them based on that, depends on the relationship that you have with them. But very critical, I think, to set those service standards with your bookkeeper, and then keep them accountable to it. It is your business. So if you let them go all the time and you're not squeaky wheel about it, you're definitely leaving it open for them to just give you the financials whenever they feel like, or never. So yeah, just watch for that. I'll come back to your other question here. Sarah had a question, a revenue figure that recommend getting a professional bookkeeper to manage. This is kind of difficult. I think it depends on your growth rate, Sarah, and your skill set. So we often have business owners of ours will do our DIY course, do the bookkeeping themselves if they don't have the budget for it. But we always recommend that if that's in your wheelhouse and something you want to do, because we also see where people have the intention of doing that, but they don't really like it. They don't really want to do it. And it just ends up being the last thing that they do, and they fall 6, 8, 10, 12 months behind. And then it's a huge catch-up job to do. So is there a revenue figure? Not solely. Depends on the kind of business, but we typically look at our full package. Sort of, we do the bookkeeping, we do the accounting and everything as a $350,000 and up, if it's going to fit within the budget that we want to see. But often we'll have businesses that are, hey, I'm at 200, but I'm expecting a lot of growth right now, and I cannot waste my time doing the bookkeeping myself if I'm going to grow to that level. So it is a bit unique. It depends on your growth trajectory and things. And so there's not a hard and fast number, but I think for any business, and this is probably, I should have added this in my head to the presentation, but any business, very, very difficult to add all the things that you need to do, be a business owner, have marketing going, have sales going, have all your delivery and of service delivery or product delivery, all that stuff going, finance, HR, the whole bit, with less than, I'd say, like $1 million in revenue. Like honestly, I know that seems that's going to be either going to seem like a huge number to a lot of people, or maybe not very much to a lot of other people. But it's it's very, very difficult to run a business under $1 million. I have to say, unless it's just you and maybe a couple people, and it's sort of a micro business. Um, Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. Hey, Nathan, small tiling company in Toronto burning out. Yeah. Oh, man. Implementing traction, hired a bookkeeper, virtual assistant. That's great. Getting help. One day off a week. Yeah. Honestly, this was, starting Avalon too. It was 6.5 days a week. I took Sunday afternoons off. I worked till like 11 o'clock most nights, and woke up at 6 in a sweat. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah. So what helped? I mean, yes. So I have this conversation sometimes with newer business owners. There is a period where it's just grunt work. Like it is just hard, and I think of it as, like a rocket ship taking off. It takes you burn a lot of fuel getting out of, the Earth's gravitational pull. And it is just sheer hard work for a while, but it has to be done. Again, the intention comes into it. If you've got a goal in mind, and I wouldn't just make it about money. Like this is where I think people fall down as well, is that, you get a revenue target or an income target that, is meaningful for you. And absolutely that can be a component of it. But the other component has to be, how do you work less than 7 days a week? To like a full-time job, 40 hours a week. And that may be unrealistic for certain types of business owners. Maybe it's 50 hours a week. I won't say that for you, but have something that's meaningful for you, that you can take a vacation, for example. Like it was, 5-6 years before I took a real, maybe longer. I'm trying to think, 5-6, maybe even 7 years before I took a real vacation away from my business without being on my phone the whole time, answering questions and trying to fill in gaps. So it takes time, but the intentional piece of it is that there should be something at the end of that makes your life way better. Because then why do it? Like, why go through all that pain? A lot of people, maybe just don't want to work for other people, and that's enough of motivation for you. That's not enough motivation for me. I wanted to have a much improved life from running a business. And so the steps you've made here, I think implementing traction, hiring a bookkeeper and a virtual assistant are great steps in the right direction. Set that intention though. I think part of traction as well, there's the individual sort of piece of that, where you have your life goals, your life vision. I don't want to get too like, I like self-help and stuff, but I know it's not everybody's into that stuff, but, setting that like future state that's really meaningful for you, and taking slow steps to get there. And traction is a great way to do that, where you're dealing with issues and they start to stack up. Like it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like, even next year, you will see improvement over a year, but it's 2, 3, 4 years where you start making these improvements gradually, and you stay intentional, and stay in that present moment, where you're looking at the things that are wrong right now and not letting yourself get away with certain things, that you can improve. So everybody's going to be a little bit different, because the issues that come up in your business are going to be different. But take that information and don't feel bad about it. I mean, there's going to be moments where you feel down, but don't feel bad about it. Every business has issues, and they don't never go away. Even if you're, working 20 hours a week and you've done so much work to get to that point, you're still going to have issues that come up. People are still going to move on from your company, and you think they're super happy. You're going to have clients that move on. You're going to have a bad review on Google. All that stuff is still going to happen in your business, as much as you try to avoid it. Yeah. Oh, the passive income thing. And man, is there is there such a thing as passive income? I I think everything takes a little bit of effort, but yeah, I get you. And I've been lucky the last 2 years of this, after doing it for 6 years, following traction and trying to be intentional about our growth. Get to coach soccer, spend my weekends with the kids. Um, Focus on a little of my time as well, doing more exercise and trying to stay fit and healthy and get good sleep and all of that stuff. And it just takes time, especially as a business owner. If you're choosing that direction, the payoffs can be great, but the path to get there is a hard one. Um, Yeah. So yes, if you're really looking for passive income, I think of it as, you have a business and corporate structure for what you do, and you have to grow to a point where the if you want truly passive income and or mostly passive, you need to be a director on the board of your company that comes in maybe once a quarter, sets the strategy, monitors the CEO of that thing, or general manager, if somebody who's running the actual business, have the right incentives in place for that person. But if you want it to be truly passive to that level, you need a size where you could hire somebody that would do all those things as a general manager and care. Maybe you have to give some ownership to that person or something. But to get to that level, yeah, I mean, you're looking at least 1 million, probably a $5 million company, something like that. Depends on your industry and things, but it is quite a bit bigger of a business. You want all those components where you have an HR person that can rehire somebody. Think of the issues that come up in your business. Somebody quits. Who's got that posting going, rehiring that person? If that's not you, somebody has to have that as their job, and they need to be able to be almost full time to do that. You could have a contractor do it, I think, and there's HR services out there. But you got to think of those things that pop up in your business naturally. These are things that just happen in business. So don't ignore any individual one of those things and be like, oh, okay, I'll have to do that. You got to think, this is what passive looks like. Somebody quits and I do nothing. That's somebody else's responsibility. That's a big scale, but hard to put a dollar figure on that exactly, but I'd say at least 1 million, at least. Um, Benjamin, for a small business owner with lots of different responsibilities, what would your recommended order be for outsourcing or hiring to fulfill these tasks? I actually wrote an article about this. Oh God, it's got to be like 5 years ago now. Maybe it was one of my emails. I do send out now biweekly email. What did I recommend? I probably recommended finance and that. I think it's admin first. Admin for sure. Like, you may think of admin as being like, oh, I can just do that. And you can, but it's the first thing that I would outsource, to be honest. Looking back, I held on to it for way too long. But once we had somebody helping with that, it was like, it just lifted the whole business up to another level where, I would ignore things for a couple of days until it became a priority. I left certain things too long. Having somebody that just does the administrative side of the business, or have a virtual assistant, and they're easier to hire than a lot of other positions. Still difficult. Don't get me wrong. A good VA or good admin person is worth their weight in gold. But that'd be the first place I would start, because it does raise the whole level. All your services will get better. The way you deliver your products will get better. All that stuff, because you can have some bandwidth to spend on other things. And then finance is another natural one. It doesn't add. It's not your business. Like, it's accounting for your business. So I kind of think of pulling out of things that are tertiary to your business, your core, what you do. So I see Nathan has a tiling business. Well, he wants to do tiling really well. Like, that's your thing. Finance and bookkeeping is something completely different. It's still related to your business, but it's not your business. So kind of pull that out slowly. Then I would probably hire out, the tasks of things, the production of what you do after that, and pull yourself out of doing any technical work, getting off the tools. That would be the next place I would look. And then lastly, probably, well, not lastly, next, sales, marketing, that kind of thing. I would hire that out. Sales, especially, I think that it depends on the type of work that you do, but you can hold on to that for a long time as a business owner because people like working with the owner, and you can make a lot more sales, a lot better as the owner of a business for some reason. I mean, I can think of lots of reasons why that's the case, but it can keep your business growing and solid because people like to buy from the owner. And then strategy, that's where it's like, now I have a CEO in place and I'm going to remove myself and I'm just become part of the board of directors. So that's kind of the waterfall of things. But, if you're really good at the bookkeeping, it can be a while. If you can delay that a bit if you're, interested in doing your bookkeeping and invoicing. And even within bookkeeping, I think you can do some things like, you're still hold on to your invoicing for a while, or at least have a review process that goes through, so you don't have bad invoices going out to customers. It's never a good look. Hopefully that's helpful, Benjamin. Thanks for the question. I wanted to go back to one here. I think it was Eric early on. They restructured his business to extracting capital gains that went wrong. Oh, and they CRA assessed me, and they had to pay the dividend rate. Yeah, that's unfortunate. One of the things I say first and foremost, Avalon and the way we do our services, we're not tax specialists. So you have to understand there's levels within accountants that sometimes accountants don't make clear. I like to make it very clear. We are not tax specialists, and we will hire out for that. We can help with that. We understand what they're talking about and can help you interpret that and quarterback that kind of thing. But the tax accountants, the true tax accountants that, speak in embedded if statements, because there's all the exceptions and you have to, don't worry or don't forget about this section of the act. Or CRA's interpretation bulletin on this thing. Their whole job and everything that they do is focused on the Tax Act and how CRA is interpreting that, what's going on in the courts. We deliver financial statements and do bookkeeping and payroll, and we file corporate tax returns. And it's all very standard. But if you're restructuring a business or trying to get the best possible tax treatment for something, we will put our hands up and say, let's get a tax specialist involved in this. And really important that business owners understand that there's not a one size fits all accountant, much like there's not a one size fits all doctor. Like, you don't want a surgeon, checking your reflexes necessarily, or prescribing, I don't know, your random medicine that you need, being your family doctor. Nor do you want your family doctor doing surgery on you. So there are levels here. And unfortunately, accountants aren't very good at saying no to work. So you'll have specialists saying that they should do your stock standard T2 at their $400, $500 an hour rate. And you'll have generalists saying that, I can do that tax restructuring for you. So it's just something to be aware of, I guess, and understand that there are these different levels of accountants. Lyndon, your business serves nonprofit organizations. Do you have any tips on how to reach and promote services to not-for-profits? Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's been really helpful for us, if I have it here. Yeah, it's like me. I have 2 copies at home and 0 copies here at the office. Is they ask, you answer. It's a slow burn. So I'll break this into 2 phases, Lyndon. Number 1 is get to any any not for profit where people congregate and go meet people and tell them what you do, and don't be salesy, but meet as many people in that place and tell them what you're up to. Have good conversations. See how you can be helpful to those people. If you need sales now, like if you need them in the next 6 months, the longer term and more consistent thing is using the internet and doing inbound marketing, and that's been helpful for us. Answering questions as thoroughly as you can that your kind of customer cares about, that they're already searching for. And this goes back to step one on the product market fit is, you're serving not nonprofit organizations. And if you're able to offer something really helpful and useful for them that's quite related to the service that you offer, and people are searching for that and they need that information, then get it out to them. And the natural thing to do after that is, you get their email, you follow up with, maybe more detailed questions on, what struggles they're having, and that. It takes time. That aspect takes time. I think the here and now is very much if you can get in front of people, talk to people, create a network, tell them what you do. That's going to be faster, but it's also a lot of effort to join these, and can be expensive to join some of these conferences and things like that. But the longer burn and more consistent thing is inbound marketing, blog posts, YouTube channel, like the stuff that we're doing. It's taken like 5 years to get to where we're at, but we get consistent leads from our website. People reach out, ask questions. We try to update our blog posts and all of that, and it can be helpful for that. Yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for the question, Lyndon. Awesome. Well, I think we're slowing down here a little bit, unless anybody has any last questions. And 47 minutes seems to be a very um, long time for anybody to pay attention. So I appreciate um, everyone joining and watching. And we'll see if we can maybe snippet this into the best bits. But really appreciate everyone coming on and spending some time on this Friday afternoon, evening. To learn about scaling your business. And as always, reach out with any questions you have, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and really watch out for that new course, because we are super excited about it. You'll see some posts here on different ways you can connect with Avalon. And I don't know what I'd have to do, but if somebody becomes a member, my hat's gonna blow off, because that would be so cool to see somebody become a member of our channel. That hasn't happened yet. Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. And we'll get some more videos coming out very soon. Working hard at it. So yeah, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you all soon. Cheers.